The legend of Sleepy Hollow resurfaces every year around Halloween. Washington Irving's 1820 tale of a headless horseman who terrorizes the real-life village of Sleepy Hollow is considered one of America's first ghost stories and one of its scariest. But Irving did not invent the idea of a headless rider. Tales of the headless horseman can be traced to the Middle Ages, including stories from the Brothers Grimm and the Dutch and the Irish legend of the Duhan and the Gan Canny, a grim leper-like rider who carries his head. Elizabeth Bradley, a historian at historic Hudson Valley, says a likely source for Irving's horseman can be found in Sir Walter Scott's 1796 The Chase, which is a translation of the German poem The Wild Huntsman by Godfrey Berger, a likely Norse mythology. Irving had just met and become friends with Scott in 1817, so it's likely he was influenced by his new mentor's work. She says the poem is about a wicked hunter who is doomed to be hunted forever by the devil and the dogs of hell as punishments for his crimes. According to the New York Historical Society, others believe Irving was inspired by an actual Hassan soldier who was decapitated by a cannonball during the Battle of White Plains around Halloween in 1776. Irving's story took place in the New York village of Sleepy Hollow in Winchester County. In it, lanky newcomer and schoolmaster Ichabod Crane courts Katrina Van Tassel, a young heiress who is also being pursued by Dutchman Brom Bones after being rebuffed by Katrina at a party at the Van Tassel's farm where ghost stories were shared. Ichabod is chased by the headless horseman, who may or may not be his rival, who hurls a pumpkin at the man, throwing Ichabod from his horse. The schoolmaster vanishes. Irving may have drawn inspiration from his story while a teenager in Tarrytown region. He moved to the area in 1798 to flee yellow fever outbreak in New York City. According to the New York Historical Society, he would have been introduced to local ghost stories and lore at any impressionable age. Bradley says he cleverly waves together factual locations, the old Dutch church, the churchyard, Major Andre's tree, some actual family names including Van Tassel and Ichabod Crane, and a little bit of Revolutionary War history with pure imagination and fantasy. Bradley says it is a melting pot of a story and thus a total American. Franz Potter, a professor at National University specializes in Gothic studies, says the Headless Horseman as a supernatural entity represents a past that never dies but always haunts the living. The Headless Horseman supposedly seeks revenge and a head, which he thinks unfairly taken from him. Potter says this injustice demands that he continually search for a substitute. The horseman, like the past, still seeks answers, still seeks retribution, and cannot rest. As for folklore mixing with history, when it comes to the character of Ichabod Crane, the New York Times reports an actual Colonel Ichabod B. Crane was a contemporary of a Irving, enlisted in the Marines in 1809, serving 45 years, but there's no evidence that the two has ever met, according to the newspaper. America's first ghost story, Bradley says, has endured because its accommodations according to American imagination. It inspires people because it reminds them that there are still some American mysteries, some half-truth, and that will never be fully known. And that the whole point, she says, the legend leads itself to an interpretation and continues to fascinate and terrify us in the best way possible.